Brings us to today's MasterCard moment, as we're going to call it. The cuts to the interior, $1.5 billion. President's check to the Park Service controlled by the Department of the Interior, $79,000. The look on this park ranger's face receiving the check, fucking priceless. So yesterday, Donald Trump donated $78,000 of his salary to a charity. And the lucky recipient was...
So it is my pleasure, on behalf of the President of the United States, to present a check for $78,343 to the Secretary of the Interior, Ziki, and the Superintendent of the Harper's Ferry Park site.
They are not smiling. So it's entirely possible there were some sound effects added to that. Glad to see they kissed and made up after that whole inauguration crowd-sized debacle and Twitter sanctions.
Interior Department, did they have the same kind of thing over the weekend? Supposedly they were banned from tweet.
I read that. My understanding is that because they had inappropriately violated their own social media policies, there was guidance that was put out to the department to act in compliance with the rules that were set forth.
Okay.
Steve Holland.
I'd call timeout. The government has Twitter policies? And here's why the Department of the Interior was not smiling. Interior Secretary Ryan Zink said, "I am thrilled at the President's decision. We are only $229 million behind in deferred maintenance on our 25 national battlefields, so we're excited for the opportunity." Thanks for the $78,000, in other words, you dick. That does seem a little hollow when you consider that Trump's proposed budget cuts are going to gut the Department of the Interior $1.5 billion, or 12% of their current budget. Alright, so we're going to take 1 second and stick a pin in that whole feud thought for a moment between the Department of the Interior and the record crowd size inauguration photos that didn't do Donald Trump's ego any justice. And got the Department of the Interior Twitter sanctions. Wonder what would get the president Twitter sanctions. There's the next question, but anyway. So first we're going to go to why is Donald Trump the biggest arrogant, selfish douchebag on earth donated his salary to a charity in the first place? Well, because like any arrogant, selfish douchebag, he likes to cost the American people money even when he's trying to do good. So, it all goes back to a campaign promise, which he's really not doing too well keeping. Travel ban, blocked. Twice. We have the health care repeal and replace that every Republican has ran on and ran against for the last 7 years since it's been enacted. It was passed in the House and Senate to be repealed alone 60 times. Donald Trump couldn't get that done. But, back to this campaign promise. Donald Trump, you and that pesky Constitution. I won't take even $1, Trump declared. I am totally giving up my salary if I become president. He can't do that. Article 2 of the Constitution requires the president to be paid. The president shall, at stated times, receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected. But the salary comes at a cost. Now, thankfully for us, the cost of this broken promise is not as much as, let's say, a wall that Mexico is not paying for. But the salary of $400,000 is paid out of the U.S. Treasury. Even if he donates this, that money is not $0 the U.S. Treasury was going to pay if he had kept his promise. It is still being paid to Donald Trump, who is then giving it away. So now he donates some money at, well, we don't know what his income tax is, but technically he's supposed to be paying 39% at his income level. So that's an additional $156,000 that he will not be giving back to the Treasury in taxes. The result is U.S. taxpayer pays $656,000, the most ever for a sitting president, and it was supposed to pay nothing. Guess the long and the short of it, Donald, you're still a failure. You can't even donate your salary without costing us more money than if you just kept the fucking money. Trump's not that smart, is he? Of course not, guys. He's not a grandmaster at chess. He's a fucking checkers player at best. But maybe this is how Trump is getting back at the interior. If he was smart, I would give him some possible passive-aggressive credit here. Some passive-aggressive kick in the balls of the Department of the Interior for the Obama inauguration tweets and their comparisons. In one divisive move, Donald Trump now has been paid a larger salary than any president, including Obama, and, wait for it, so this is where you gotta wonder. The gloves just came off. So in a sick and sadistic twist, if he donates his whole year's salary, he's only given a piece of it with the $78,000. But if he gave his whole year's salary of $400,000 to the Department of the Interior, it's only about 1% of the $1.5 billion his budget outline will cut. The financial gains alone that he'll get via tax cuts, because he's going to use that $1.5 billion since they don't have health care. Thanks, Obamacare. Since they couldn't repeal and replace. He is going to use part of that $1.5 billion to give him and his, basically, cabinet big tax breaks. So the financial gains he'll receive via the tax cuts from that $1.5 billion will actually be more money than the $400,000 salary. So if that's not salt in the wound, I don't know what is. But as we've already stated before, our president's just not that smart. It's just dumb luck that the gloves came off. Or he's that big a failure that he just can't help but fuck things up and make things worse for everybody. But, needless to say, however you want to look at it, it is bringing us to the MasterCard moment, I'm going to call it. The cuts to the interior, $1.5 billion. President's check to the Park Service controlled by the Department of the Interior, $79,000. The look on this park ranger's face receiving the check, fucking priceless.